I told the local sheriff everything. Photos, cigarette, Philip's disappearing act. The deputy's eyes flicked between me and the evidence, settling finally on the lack of bruises. Mum. Stalking's hard to prove without a direct threat. Direct threat. As though the camera's eye inside my home wasn't enough. I booked the next red-eye to my parents' house west of the Mississippi. Switched phones, learned to sleep with a chair under the knob. Weeks passed. Dreams grew teeth. Then, 3 days ago, an email slid into my work inbox from an address I didn't recognize. No subject. No text. Just a single attachment. A low-res image of a charred Firewatch tower silhouetted against October sky, smoke coiling like a question mark. Beneath the tower, 2 tents, 1 green, 1 navy. I zoomed, throat tightening until pixels bled. Those tents belonged to Tyler Finch and Jacob Monroe, the missing hikers I'd read about in an old Appalachian true crime thread. The timestamp on the image? 2 nights ago. Philip was letting me know the game wasn't over. I might have folded in on myself then, if not for a postscript buried in that same forum. A comment by a user named RidgeRunner26, written nearly a year after the hikers vanished. Saw a guy up near Bent Creek with a map older than God and a stare that could empty a room. Told me he was looking for closure. I pointed him toward the old logging spur and wished him luck. Closure. Logging spur. The half-collapsed tower in the pic matched the one Tyler and Jake had planned to camp beside. According to the police report, I'd begged a friend to smuggle me. RidgeRunner26 had to be Tyler, alive but hunting ghosts. If Tyler was still out there, he might be the only person who'd believe what Philip really was. I bought a one-way bus ticket east that night. The Greyhound coughed me onto a deserted depot at 3 a.m. Cold fog rolling off the ridges like spilt dry ice. Sleepless, wired, I shouldered my pack and started walking north along a frontage road slick with dew. Each streetlight hovered in its own halo, tapering off into starless dark. When an engine idled behind me, I spun. A mud-streaked Ford Ranger crept alongside, passenger window down. The driver's beard was more scruff than style, eyes red-rimmed with insomnia. He looked exactly how I imagined a man might after 3 years of waking each dawn, replaying the moment a blood-splattered stranger stepped from the trees and bragged about slaughter. "You Emma?" he asked. Tennessee drawl sounded nearly flat by fatigue. Only one woman said my real name on that thread. My pulse thudded. Tyler Finch. He offered a grim approximation of a smile. "Hop in. Hunting season starts now." I glanced at the empty road. Somewhere far behind us, a cigarette flared to life. A lone ember at the mouth of the world. I slid into the truck, slammed the door, and left the streetlight's fragile sanctuary behind. Tyler drove as though every mile of twisting blacktop were tattooed beneath his eyelids. Headlights sweeping wet cedar trunks and half-collapsed barns painted the color of phantom bones. The cab smelled of stale coffee, gun oil, and an anxious electricity that seemed to flex each time our shoulders brushed. I studied him in the jittering glow of the dashboard. Buzz cut grown ragged, crow's feet carved deeper by sleepless seasons. A scabbed crescent along his jaw, recent, angry. "I'm sorry about Jake," I said, not sure whether the apology was for naming the wound or for all the years no one believed him. He answered without looking away from the ribbon of road. "Sorry won't stitch him back together. But thanks." The wipers clicked a metronome. Somewhere out in that star-blind dark, warblers should have been waking to sing, but the mountains were silent, the kind of hush you hear in a morgue freezer. "How much did you find on Philip?" Tyler asked. "Just threads. Addresses that don't hold still. Cash-only P.O. boxes. Every route runs cold 5 minutes from nowhere." He exhaled a humorless chuckle. "Fits the profile." "What profile?" He scratched the stubble on his neck. "Predator who needs 2 hunting grounds. He stalks someone in daily life, that's you, and he stalks randos in the backcountry. One keeps him fed. The other keeps him entertained." A tremor ran through me. "You're talking like you've mapped him." "I've mapped a pattern," he said. "There's another girl, Charlotte in Asheville, vanished spring before last. Same brand cigarette on her sill. Same camera flash through closed blinds. He shoved a dog-eared folder across the console. Photos paper-clipped to receipts, missing person flyers, coroner's summaries. The face on top was a smiling brunette, no older than 25. My stomach went water-thin. Tyler turned off the state highway onto a forestry service lane that dwindled to 2 pale ruts. Stones pinging the undercarriage. Blackberry canes slapped the doors. Dew splattered the windshield like fat raindrops. When the truck finally stopped, the engine's sudden silence boomed louder than its noise. We'd arrived at an abandoned ranger station. Stone chimney fallen in, roof sagging like a tired lung. Dawn barely tinged the horizon, leaving the clearing drained of color. Tyler killed the lights, pocketed the keys. Safe house, he said. No power, but rain barrels in back and a wood stove that still draws. Philip's not a dawn hunter. He waits for night. And we wait for what? I asked. For bait to notice we've left the feeder. I flinched. You think he's already tracking us? I think a man who photographs you sleeping doesn't let you change SIM cards without planting another eye. He finds comfort in omnipresence, until we nail him to a single latitude and make the mountain swallow him. Inside, the ranger station smelled of creosote and rusted nails. Tyler lit a single hurricane lantern. Yellow hush pooled across dust-pelted floorboards. Maps curled on corkboards, edges chewed by mice. One showed a spiderweb of logging spurs radiating from a red ink X labeled tower number 23. I touched the mark. That's where he sent the photo. And where Jake bled out, Tyler said. Voice gone flint hard. I saw the drag trail. Sheriff chalked it up to black bear scavenging. But bears don't fold tarps after they're done. Images crowded my vision. Philip's steady hands smoothing creases from my travel blanket. The way he always knew exactly where the first aid kit was. You think Philip killed Jake? Tyler's eyes flared. I think Philip kills anyone who interrupts his ritual. Lightning flashed outside. Silent, distant. And for a heartbeat the windows became mirrors. I saw 2 haunted silhouettes inside and the faintest third shape beyond the glass. As if something on the porch leaned forward then melted into the pre-dawn fog. My pulse leapt. Tyler stalked to the doorway, rifle shouldered, but the clearing lay empty except for sagging rhododendrons dripping silver. Probably an elk, he muttered, though we both knew it wasn't elk season here. He barricaded the door with an ironwood beam scavenged from a broken bunk. We rest in shifts, he said. I'll take first watch. I should have argued. Should have insisted we keep moving, but exhaustion sandbagged my bones. Tyler spread a moth-eaten blanket near the hearth. I curled on it, knife tucked beneath my thigh, and watched the lantern flame jitter across the ceiling. Sleep found me anyway. Somewhere in the wool of dreams, I heard my name. A child's voice, sing-song, too close to the shell of my ear. M-A-A-A. I jerked upright. The fire in the stove had died to sullen embers. Dawn's gray film barely whitened the windows. Tyler was gone. The lantern sat gutted on the table, wick cold. Tyler! My whisper throbbed. No answer, only the rasp of something sliding across wood outside. I gripped my hunting knife and eased toward a cracked pane. The clearing looked deserted until I realized every tree trunk bore a scrap of white paper nailed at eye level, flapping in the breeze. 20, maybe 30 of them, a forest of postcards. I unbarred the door, heart thrumming. Papers fluttered like ghost wings. I tore one free. A Polaroid of me kneeling to tie my boot on yesterday's roadside, time-stamped an hour after Tyler had picked me up. On the back, block letters in black Sharpie. Tell Tyler it's rude to steal what's mine. Another photo. Tyler asleep in the truck at a gas pump. My blurred reflection in the window. You looked happy together. I'm happy for you. Let's camp soon. All of US. My ears roared with blood.
Ispun, scanin treline.
No movement, no birds, only wind, carrying the acrid ghost of cigarette smoke. A branch cracked deeper in the brush. Tyler! I called, voice ricocheting. Footsteps pounded in answer. He burst from undergrowth, mud smeared across one cheek. You okay? I thought I saw him. His gaze swept the papers. The blood drained from his face. He was here, Ty. He watched us sleep. Tyler crumpled one Polaroid, jaw working. He wants control of the board. We've got to flip it. He shoved a topo map into my hands. A neon circle ringed an unnamed hollow a mile upstream, old mining prospect tunnels marked with a geologist's cryptic shorthand. Rock's quartzite, he said. One way in, one way out, signal proof. If we lure him there, I can trap him. How do you bait a man who's already hunting us? By giving him what he thinks he wants. Tyler met my eyes. We made the hollow by noon, bushwhacking through laurel slick as oiled silk. Tyler whispered instructions. I'd leave a trailless breadcrumb, strips of my red rain shell snagged on thorns, leading to the mine mouth. Then I'd hide inside a worker's alcove while Tyler circled to the ridgecrest with the .308, ready to drive Philip deeper. It sounded like war games invented by scare-crazed children, but panic sharpens obedience. I tore fabric, let it dangle scarlet in the gloom, feeling like I was dripping pieces of my own flesh. Inside the mine, air turned refrigerator cold. Water lapped unseen in shafts. Tyler squeezed my shoulder. Back wall chamber, there's an old dynamite recess. Stay put until I flush him. If something goes wrong, head due east. You'll hit Big Creek Road. What about you? I asked. He gave a thin smile. I don't plan on wrong. He disappeared into saplings, leaving a hush so total my breathing sounded obscene. I counted heartbeats. 97, 98. Footfall, soft but deliberate, entered the tunnel. A silhouette resolved. Tall, hooded, shoulders squared in triumph. Cigarette ember glowed like an evil jewel between fingers. My throat seized. Emma. Philip called lightly, voice echoing off stone. Hide and seek was always your favorite. He took another step, lighter flame flicking. It illumined his face. So calm, almost tender. I flattened against rock, fingers whitening on the knife. Tyler? He cooed into the dark. You made this too easy. Thanks for collecting my wanderer. Closure suits you. A crash thundered outside. Tyler rolling a boulder to seal the entrance. Air whooshed as daylight snapped away. Philip spun, cursed. Gunfire cracked. Tyler's rifle slug scraped stone, ricocheted. Philip dove deeper into the shaft, toward me. He saw a flicker of motion. My hair, perhaps, and lunged. I slashed. The blade kissed his forearm, shallow but enough to yank a snarl from him. He backhanded me. Stars burst. Knife skittered away. Hands found my throat, cold, methodical. Outside, Tyler roared, voice muffled through rock. Philip squeezed harder, eyes gleaming foxbright. Did you ever love me? I choked. Of course. His smile was heartbreak sweet. Predators love their prey most when it finally understands. Metal sang. Tyler's Bowie knife arced from the darkness, buried to the hilt between Philip's ribs. Philip gasped, released me, staggered. He clawed for the blade, but Tyler barreled into him. Both crashed into black water pooled at the shaft. A roar, a splash, then silence broken only by Tyler's ragged breathing. He surfaced, hauled himself out, shoulders shaking. Philip did not. Is he? I rasped. Tyler's gaze was shards of moon. Water's 40 degrees. Shaft drops 20 feet. Even sharks drown without gills. He slid down the wall, exhaustion folding him. I crawled to his side. Blood seeped from his temple where a branch had cut him earlier, mingling with mine. Somewhere above, wind moaned through rock fissures like the mountains exhaling. Tyler closed his eyes. We'll wait till dark. Then we go to the rangers, show them the shaft, the photos, everything. I nodded, though part of me knew no ranger would repel that abyss tonight. Some stories stay buried with the monster who wrote them. But maybe, just maybe, tomorrow the birds would return to sing. Outside, twilight pressed into the hollow, and for the first time in months, the forest wasn't silent. A single whip-pour will called soulful and distant, stitching the wound in the mountain's hush. I let the sound sew me back together, one note at a time, while Tyler's breathing steadied beside me. Living proof that even in places where evil grows like kudzu, something human can still take root and fight its way toward the light. Tyler and I sat in that cave throat until the lantern's fuel guttered low, hugging our knees against the slow drip of condensation that echoed like a leaky faucet in a tomb. My throat pulsed with every heartbeat, skin raw where Philip's thumbs had wrung it. I half expected his hand to burst back through the water, bone white and furious. But the pool lay mirror-flat. Only stray ripples from our earlier violence lapped the stone. Tyler broke the hush first. Come morning, they'll call this justifiable homicide. Self-defense. You sound like you've rehearsed it. I have. Every sleepless night for 3 years. He dragged Philip's pack from the ledge where it had been stashed. Military-grade dry bag, drone controller, notebook thick with GPS grids and newspaper clippings glued beneath layers of acetate. One clipping showed Charlotte in Asheville. Another, a Knoxville woman I recognized from a missing persons subreddit, Sarah Paxton. Last seen jogging the Melton Hill Greenway 7 months ago. Every page was annotated in Philip's neat, almost feminine script. Under Sarah's photo, found her fear threshold. Needs refinement. Something curdled inside me. He kept score. Predators always do, Tyler said. They're worse than accountants. We inventoried the rest. 2 GoPros, 1 still warm memory cards, a roll of paracord spliced with metal fishing leaders, duct tape, medical gloves, a vial of atropine. Tyler's knuckles blanched as he lifted the atropine. He could paralyze lungs with 5 mils of this, he whispered. Watch them drown on dry land. I stuffed it back, sealing the horror from sight. Let's go. We pried away the boulder, sealing the entry just enough to slip out. Evening had washed the ridgeline violet. Clouds parted to reveal a slice of Hunter's moon. We followed the creek until the mine's quartzite spine faded behind Laurel. I shivered each time the current hissed over stones. Philip's last breath echoing in the splash. Near midnight we found the trailhead kiosk, its park map sun-bleached to pastel ghosts. An emergency call box blinked amber. I lifted the receiver, pulse hammering. Static. Then a ranger's drawl. Dispatch. My voice came out ragged but coherent enough. Code for injury, self-defense. Body in an abandoned shaft at grid XYZ. The dispatcher promised rescue teams by dawn. Tyler exhaled, shoulders sagging. We did it, I said, meaning both survival and justice. His stare fixed beyond the treetops. Did we? I followed his gaze. A red ember drifted between spruce silhouettes on the opposite ridge. Too steady to be fireflies, too deliberate for campfire flicker. Another cigarette. For a moment neither of us breathed. Then a second ember winked to life beside the first, and a third. 5 in all, arrayed like constellation points. Tyler's whisper shivered. He had disciples? I thought of the 2 men whose boots we'd heard circling my cabin weeks ago. The cigarette, but that reappeared after Philip said he'd tossed it. Maybe he wasn't alone that night. Maybe a pack hunts what a lone wolf stalks. Branches crackled behind us.
Ispun.
Knife poised, but only a barred owl flapped skyward, silent after the first wing beat. The ridgeline embers faded, consumed or pinched out, leaving nothing but a prickle at the nape of my neck. We move, Tyler said. No waiting. We hiked. Moonlight painted the path pewter, our shadows fleeing ahead like hounds. I tried to steady my breathing by counting steps. 48, 49. A twig snapped far downslope. Then another, closer. Tyler raised his rifle. I flicked my headlamp but instantly regretted it. The cone of white announced us like a flare. In the wash of light, I glimpsed a man 20 yards back, broad-chested, head shaven. He wore a contractor's canvas jacket slick with dark patches that might have been mud. Between his lips glowed a cigarette. He stopped when the beam hit him, raised his free hand in what might have been greeting or a signal. From the undergrowth 2 more shapes emerged, like negatives burned into forest film. My bowels iced. Tyler whispered, "Run on my mark." 3 heartbeats. Mark. We bolted uphill, boots skidding on wet duff. Gunfire cracked. 3 rounds. Supersonic hiss passed my ear. Bark exploded from a birch trunk. Tyler yanked me behind a boulder. He fired a single measured shot. Someone screamed. Fell. Feral curses pinged through the trees. We split, he said. They want you more. I'll draw them south. Rendezvous at the fire tower stump by dawn.
No.
If they catch us both, nobody testifies. Go. He shoved me toward a faint side spur. I sprinted, lungs blazing, every childhood track meet failure redeemed in sheer terror. Shots echoed behind, but branches snarled the angles. After 10 minutes, the gunfire dimmed. After 20, it ceased. I slowed only when the terrain funneled into a quartz slide where no footsteps could hide their clatter. Moonlight phosphoresced off mica flakes, lighting my descent into a cedar hollow. Water pooled blackly at the bottom, ankle deep, then knee dash. I waited, hoping scent would wash away. At the far bank the ground rose, crowned by an outcropping shaped like a wolf's jaw. Beneath it yawned a rain-hollowed cavity barely human-high. I crawled inside just as adrenaline dumped me into shivering exhaustion. From my pack I drew Philip's drone controller. Tyler had insisted we take it for evidence and toggled its tiny screen. A live feed sparked to life. Infrared view from the drone still airborne somewhere overhead. On the thermal display, 3 hot silhouettes moved along a ridge. One limped heavily. Tyler's bullet had found flesh. The other 2 flanked him like sheepdogs herding. They were heading south after Tyler. None marched my direction. Relief hit, then guilt. Tyler was the quarry now. I zoomed the camera. A 4th heat signature blipped in frame, small, crouched behind the limping man, then pouncing. The flare blossomed bright, arms thrashing. Seconds later the limp signature toppled, cooling rapidly. The other 2 spun, weapons drawn, but the ambusher vanished into the timber. The feed jittered, pixelating, the drone's battery dying. Before the image froze, I caught a last stuttering shot. The ambusher glancing up as though sensing the camera. His forehead reflected moonlight against a slick buzz cut.
No beard. No trench coat.
A stranger, neither Philip's crew nor Tyler. The screen died. I sat in the sudden black, pulse hammering. Was he friend, enemy, or a wild card in this brutal deck? A twig scraped outside the rock jaw. I clicked off my headlamp, pressed into shadow. Something shifted in the cedar duff, slow, deliberate. Breath held, I drew the knife. A whisper drifted. Emma. The voice was wrong, higher pitch, almost teenage. Who's there? Emma. I'm Charlotte. My gut iced. Charlotte, vanished woman from Philip's ledger. You're alive, I rasped. A silhouette knelt at the cave mouth. Skinny, wearing a stained hoodie. Moonlight glinted off her eyes. Feral brightness. I'm not sure, she said, voice flat as fog. He buried me and I woke up somewhere else. She crawled inside, water dripping from her sleeves. In the dim I saw her wrists. Ligature burns ridged under dirt. They took Tyler, she said. Your friend's hurt. 2 men dragged him northwest, to the old fire tower. Why are you helping me? Because you screamed, she whispered. I remember wanting to scream. Nobody heard. A howl echoed miles away. Coyote or something using the coyote's tongue. Charlotte flinched. They'll circle back here, she said. We have to burn the rot out. She reached into her pack, Philip's pack, I realized, and produced the atropine vial plus a syringe. They like paralysis games. She offered it to me. We turned the board. Every survival instinct balked at handling the poison that had doomed others. Yet some grim calculus clicked. If those men caught us, we had no guns, no hope of outrunning them again. I pocketed the vial. Charlotte led me up a game trail so narrow the laurel clawed our hair. She moved with erratic grace, sometimes staggering, sometimes sprint crawling like a wolf. Trauma had rewired her. But she knew these woods, pointed to flagging tape Philip's crew had knotted, explained which deer paths looped into dead ends designed as traps. She'd lived the maze. Now she inverted it. Just before dawn we reached a ledge overlooking the ruins of Tower number 23. Its charred ribs scrawled against a blood-orange sky. Two figures hauled Tyler, bound and gagged, toward the stump. A third waited, silhouette smoking. Charlotte's breath rasped. Philip planned a harvest ritual. Sunrise bleed out. They'll stake him for the drone's camera. Philip's dead. Rot doesn't need its first host, she murmured. It's spores. I handed her the syringe. Can you shoot? She nodded once. Eyes glaze bright. And you? I can distract. I crept downhill, heart pounding Morse against ribs. A raven croaked overhead. Its shadow crossed mine like an omen. At 30 yards I spotted a fallen maple, trunk hollowed by lightning, just wide enough to crouch behind. From my pouch I dug the last scrap of my red rainshell, tied it to a branch, and stepped into the open, waving. Hey! My voice cracked between peaks and hollows. Cigarette man swung his rifle. Freezing momentarily at the apparition of prey escaped. One captor tightened grip on Tyler's collar. The other lunged forward, but Cigarette raised a hand, directing him to stay. I walked closer, palms up, knees jelly. Take me. Let him go. I'm the one Philip wanted. The smoker laughed, exhaling blue haze. Lesson 1, sweetheart. Offering is pointless if we can have both. He gestured. The accomplice advanced, knife drawn. Somewhere upslope a tiny pop sounded, like a branch snapping. Cigarette stiffened, dropped the rifle, clawed at his neck where the syringe now jutted. Charlotte stood behind him, face lit by dawn. Cigarette tried to shout, but his diaphragm betrayed him. He toppled, eyes wide, mouth gaping fish-like. The knife wielder spun. I hurled a rock, striking his temple. He staggered. Tyler, seizing the moment, donkey kicked backward, boot connecting with the man's knee. Ligaments popped. The man screamed, collapsing. I dove for Cigarette's fallen rifle and swung its butt into his skull once. Twice. Silence. Wind hissed through tower bones. Charlotte knelt by Tyler, slashing bonds. He croaked gratitude. Sunrise painted her cheeks coral, turning her into flesh again instead of ghost. Sirens wailed faintly in the valley, ranger trucks winding up logging roads. I sagged against the maple, empty. Tyler limped over, laid a hand on my shoulder. It's over, he said. I almost believed him until I saw Charlotte staring at the syringe's empty barrel, expression unreadable. What? I asked. Her voice floated, distant. Atropine was only half the stock. They kept more at base camp, enough for dozens. Where's base camp? A slow smile peeled her lips, equal parts relief and dread. Everywhere, she said. They seed the range like spores, remember? Rot keeps moving. Helicopter rotors thundered overhead, kicking up ash from the old tower site. Rescuers rappelled, shouting, weapons ready. Charlotte stepped back, fading toward Laurel's fringe, eyes fixed on the sky as though sudden freedom burned. When a medic reached to guide her, she flinched, then allowed herself to be led. I watched her shrink to a silhouette against morning blaze and realized the story might never finish. Evil rarely signs the last page. It folds a corner, tucks the book beneath the reader's pillow, waits for dreams to soften the spine before writing again in whatever blankness remains. But some pages, these pages, were ours, and we had written them in blood and wildfire sunrise. As Medivac loaded Tyler and Charlotte, as rangers ushered me toward statements and evidence bags, I pocketed Philip's notebook. The evil inside would help prosecute others. On the first leaf I added a line in my own hand. Fear can fertilize the dark, or it can light a match. Today we chose fire. And for the first time since the cabin door flexed beneath my palm, I felt the mountains breathe with me. Not as a cage, but as a witness. Somewhere in that vast timber, unborn echoes held their breath, waiting to learn which story would reach them first, the rot or the flame. The rotor wash pummeled my face as they loaded Tyler onto the stretcher, his skin a paper-white contrast to the crimson splatter that wasn't all his. A ranger yelled something about triage priorities. Another waved me toward a search and rescue tech who pressed a shock blanket into my hands the way you might hand a child a comfort toy. I let it drape, but cold still gnawed under the fabric. cold that wasn't atmospheric so much as metaphysical, as if some part of the mind's chill had stitched itself into my marrow. They herded us downhill along a widened skid road where floodlights lanced the fog. Diesel generators thrummed. Paramedics bustled among foil-wrapped figures on cots. One of them, female, eyes bloodshot but steady, guided me to a folding chair, clipped a pulse ox to my finger, and asked gentle, useless questions. Name, allergies, last tetanus shot. My answers felt rote, like reading someone else's medical chart aloud. Across the clearing, Charlotte sat on the tailgate of a pickup, blanket hood drawn, gaze fixed on the glowing mouth of the helicopter as if afraid it might swallow her next. A deputy tried coaxing statements from her. She mouthed something, maybe later, caught her eye. She gave a terse nod before staring past me again, into a distance no one else could see. When they finished photographing my bruised neck and knuckles, a detective introduced himself. Mendez, badge heavy on his parka. He spoke the way old trees crack. Slow, deliberate, underlying strength. Ms. Cross, he said, you did well to stop this tonight, but the paperwork starts now. Mind walking me through everything once more? My throat rasped like slate dragged on asphalt. How long do we have? He exhaled vapor. As long as it takes. Bureaus en route, but jurisdictions murky, state lands, multi-state victims, possible organized ring. Give me what you can while it's hot. I stared at the floodlights painting the cedar trunks anemic. Hot. The word felt wrong. Nothing about this fear was fresh. It had marinated for years in Philip's notebooks and Polaroids. Still, I started talking. Sentence after sentence unspooled. The flimsy cabin door, the cigarette butts, the generators that died by design, Philip's envelope, Tyler's 3-year trauma, Charlotte's reemergence like a revenant set alight. Mendez listened, jaw flexing at certain details, fishing leader garrotes, atropine vials, writing in a pad so small it looked absurd against his broad palm. Halfway through, I realized Charlotte had shifted closer, silent, as if words were a campfire she couldn't help but warm against. She spoke only once, correcting a date. Her abduction had happened on June 5th, not 6th. Mendez amended without comment. By the time I finished, dawn had burned the fog into ribbons. The whoop of another incoming helicopter rolled over us. I felt empty, squeezed of story and blood alike. Mendez closed his notebook. We've got enough for warrants, he said. Stay accessible. Marshal Service will set up temporary protection until indictments drop. Philip's dead, I murmured. But someone else was pulling strings. He nodded toward the tower stump, now cordoned by yellow tape. Strings, cables, whole damn puppet stage. We'll find it. But his eyes told me he'd seen what happens when investigations hit bedrock and the darkness still stretches deeper. They flew Tyler to Mission Hospital in Asheville. Charlotte and I followed by convoy, 2 Ranger SUVs bracketed by unmarked sedans. The doc pumped antifungal meds into Charlotte's bloodstream. Cave-borne spores had rooted in her lungs, evidence of months spent underground. She drifted between sleep and catatonia. I sat beside her narrow bed, feeling like an intruder in another survivor's nightmare. When the nurse coaxed her to sip broth, Charlotte's pupils focused on me. You were lucky, she whispered. I remembered Philip's fingers crushing my windpipe. Was I? The first cage is always the hardest to spot, she said. You saw it. I didn't. She dozed again. I ran water over my bruised palms in the sink, watching pinkish swirl coil down the drain, and thought about cages, how some are built of logs and poor craftsmanship, and some are forged from compliments and attention so persistent it feels like love. 2 days later, the FBI set up shop in an abandoned armory outside Knoxville. Task Force Sapphire, they called it, like naming a hurricane after a gemstone. They subpoenaed Philip's bank records, dissected his cloud drives, traced fuel receipts that hopscotched through at least 5 states. Patterns emerged. Cash withdrawals near national forests. Prepaid burner phones activated then discarded within 72 hours. A forensic linguist matched phrasing in Philip's notebook. Closure suits you. to posts on a dark web forum catering to integration hunts, code for abducting a target and integrating them into wilderness scenarios. My stomach threatened to void itself when the agent explained that phrase. But the real shock was the server's origin address. Leased rack space in Mason County, Kentucky, less than 100 road miles from my parents' home. Philip had tunneled his obsession so close to my childhood sanctuary I felt violated retroactively, as though danger had always been breathing through our basement vents. The Bureau corralled me into witness protection orientation. A young marshal with kind eyes recited protocol. Relocation, sealed records, new name. I stared at the window where a spider constructed a web between bulletproof panes, engineering geometry from nothing. Another cage. I asked for a day to decide. He granted 12 hours. That evening I found Tyler propped against crisp hospital pillows, ribs taped, for dripping a sedative that made his words float. He forced a grin. "You look less dead," I said. "Working on it." His voice was reed-thin but unwavering. "Feds told me about Witsec. You going?" "Maybe." He studied the linoleum ceiling. "Vanishing feels like victory until you realize ghosts don't testify. I'm not sure my testimony matters if the rot spreads wider than Philip." "Then cut deeper," he said, surprising fire under the morphine glaze. "They think I'm just wounded meat. They'll never see me coming." I recognized the glint. Same steel that had driven a knife into Philip's ribs. Revenge had become his circulatory system. Part of me wanted to tie his wrists to the rails, beg him to let professionals handle it. But professionals hadn't saved Jake, hadn't saved Charlotte, had nearly failed me. "What are you proposing?" I asked, heart already galloping. "Bait," he said, "bigger than before. You and me on the move, high visibility. Make them chase noise while we trace the quiet." I laughed, hollow. "They'll kill us." "They'll try," he corrected. "But this time we plan the board." Marshall Blake, kind-eyed, perpetually tired, was not pleased when I waived protective relocation. "You're turning down the safest option," he said. "Safe died in a mine shaft," I answered. "I need effective." He back-channeled to Mendez. A compromise formed. Partial protective detail. Off the books. Bureau and local PD would keep normal surveillance, but Tyler and I could spearhead an evidence-gathering run, so long as we wore GPS anklets and maintained hourly check-ins. "What's the target?" Blake asked. "Philip's childhood," I said before I could second-guess. "Whatever made him incubate this infection." Their files yielded an address near Lexington. A horse farm gone bankrupt decades earlier, deed transferred to a shell company that funneled cash into Scott Jenkins's offshore account. Jenkins, the foreman Charlotte muttered during fever spikes. Jenkins had no digital footprint after 2017, but his credit report showed quarterly property tax payments on the farm. Could be nothing, an analyst warned. Or everything, I thought. They outfitted an unmarked Sprinter van as mobile HQ. Radio dish, sat uplink, evidence lockers. 2 plainclothes marshals, Weber and Cho, rode shotgun. Tyler, still bandaged, refused narcotics. Pain kept him sharp, he said. Charlotte wasn't cleared to travel. She pressed a slip of paper into my hand. Directions scrawled in jittery pencil. "Feed the rot gasoline," she whispered. We left before dawn, heading northwest. Kentucky's horse country rolled out pastoral idyll. White fences, dew-silvered paddocks, a sunrise so wholesome it felt sarcastic. Yet the nearer we drew to Philip's farm, the quieter birdsong became, as though avian instinct recognized a blight beneath the bluegrass. The driveway was choked with mullein and ironweed taller than Tyler. A rusted cattle gate hung askew. On it, a wooden plaque still faintly read, "Sunder Acres." Cho parked the van behind a sycamore screen. Weber stayed with the radios. Tyler and I slipped through the gate. My GPS anklet pinged the marshal every minute. Steady heartbeat of oversight. The house loomed 3 stories, queen and bones sagging, porch ivy throttling balusters. Windows clouded with grime reflected back a funhouse version of us. Wounded hunter, traumatized bait. Tyler broke a pane near the knob, reached in, Let us inside. Air tasted of rot and ammonia. Jersey barrier stench. Old hay, older urine, maybe something worse. We clicked headlamps. Wallpaper peeled in moist ribbons, revealing childlike drawings underneath. Charcoal stick figures standing beside giant antlers, silhouettes of cabins under crescent moons, cigarette butts sketched like little laurels. My God, Tyler murmured. Floorboards warbled under us. Somewhere upstairs, water dripped, steady, mechanical. We followed sound to a cramped attic stair leading into darkness so thick it felt tactile. Each step groaned protest. At the top I pushed the hatch. It opened onto a triangular room cluttered with relics. Hunting tags, deer skulls wired to rafters, Polaroids pinned in spirals. Some showed landscapes, Appalachian vistas I recognized from Philip's Instagram. Others showed women sleeping, mouths parted. Unaware flash had bared their dreams. In each frame, a cigarette but rested in the corner like a signature. Center of the attic stood a computer tower connected to a signal booster and diesel generator vented through a fake chimney. The monitor glowed blue, login screen awaiting credentials. Tyler whistled softly. This is the server, he said. Data motherlode. We radioed coordinates. Blake's voice crackled. Units en route, 10 minutes. Don't touch anything. But something else stole my gaze. A plywood door set into the eaves. Padlock snapped open. Inside crouched a crawl space. I ducked through and froze. A girl's bicycle, pink paint flaked, spiderwebbed. Stuffed rabbit missing one eye. School backpack monogrammed CR Charlotte's initials. Evidence they kept trophies, Tyler said behind me. Jake's compass might be here. Shelves lined with glass jars holding cigarette butts labeled by date and GPS coordinates. Next to them jars of fingernail clippings, hair. My stomach lurched. Then a low electronic chime flooded the attic, UPS power alarm. The monitor flickered to life without login, camera LED blinking. On screen, a live feed of us standing amid trophies. A voice streamed from speakers, grainy, pitched through a voice changer. Welcome home, Emma. Been waiting for the tour. Philip's dead man switch. Tyler lunged for power cord, but the feed cut to a countdown clock. 09:59, 09:58. Sprinklers recessed in ceiling hissed to life, misting thin spray that smelled chemical. My skin prickled, lips tingled. Atropine aerosol. Tyler snapped. We need masks. We tore fabric from shirts, drenched them in bottled water, pressed to faces, but lungs already burned. Tyler smashed a window with a skull. Air sliced in, but so did smoke. Someone torched the front parlor below. Mendez's cruiser siren wailed outside. We had under 9 minutes before toxin dose lethal or fire 8 oxygen. I dragged the backpack of trophies, dumped onto floor, seized jars into pillowcase while Tyler photographed every Polaroid with his phone. Auto-pushing to cloud. 5 minutes left. Tyler stabbed the tower with a pry bar, guts sparking. I tied pillowcase, slung it and the hard drive he yanked from chassis. Flames licked stairwell. Tyler wrapped a deer hide around his forearm. Battered attic vent louvers until they splintered. Smoke rolled out. He boosted me through the opening onto slate shingles slick with dew and ash. Roof groaned. Turrets cracked like bones. Below, Blake and Cho aimed hoses from a truck, fighting orange tongues curling around porch columns. Tyler dropped after me. Rolled, hissed from broken ribs. I grabbed his sleeve. We half-skidded down the roof, leapt onto a pergola that collapsed under our weight but slowed the fall enough that grass slapped rather than shattered bones. Blake rushed, jamming EpiPen antidote into our thighs. Nausea ebbed, edges of vision unblurred. Fire roared, taking Sunder Acres with it along with the countdown. As paramedics loaded us, I caught one last look at the attic vent. A deer skull we jostled fell, clattering along shingles, lodging under gutter. Between its antlers glowed a stub of a cigarette, perfectly balanced. Ember stubborn despite rain of sparks. Not a signature. Promise. The Bureau spent 48 hours sifting the wreckage. Hard drive platter fused, but forensic lab teased partial metadata. Peer-to-peer nodes across Colorado, Oregon, Quebec. A prairie wildfire of complicity. The press called it the Integration Syndicate. Anchors discussed feral cults and Appalachian death games, while pundits argued root causes like philosophers dissecting a plague they'd never smelled. Meanwhile, Charlotte coded in a psych ward, fighting pneumonia. Tyler underwent surgery for a collapsed lung. I stayed in a Red Roof Inn under alias, chain-writing affidavits until words looked forged. Every night I dreamed of countdowns. The morning Charlotte died. Sepsis, doctors said. I found a padded envelope outside my motel door. No return address. Inside. Her stuffed rabbit from the crawl space, freshly laundered, and a Polaroid of Charlotte smiling shy on a campus lawn. On the back, neat feminine scrawl. She's safer now. Tell Tyler to rest. I vomited into the trash can. When I phoned Blake, his voice shook. Their surveillance van had lost my GPS ping 80 minutes earlier. Jamming device somewhere near. He was rerouting units. I realized the rabbit's eye, missing from years of rot, was replaced by a microcamera. Whoever delivered this watched my reaction in real time. Enough. I dressed, pocketed Philip's notebook, loaded Tyler's .38 he'd given me just in case, and walked out the back stairwell. Below is the next stretch of continuous narrative, roughly 7,000 them too, bringing the cumulative length to about 20,000. I keep the same first-person voice, no chapter breaks. Seamless flow from the last line, asterisk. If after reading you still need any extra material, epilogue, alternate POV, expanded backstory, just cho toi beat. The rear staircase smelled of stale fryer grease from the diner next door, but underneath I caught the crisp bite of night rain and cold metal, gunmetal maybe, or just the handrail. My ribs throbbed where Philip's shadow still clung. I kept one hand inside my coat pocket, thumb on the .38's hammer, the other clutching the rabbit, camera eye winking red every few seconds. Some part of me wanted to hurl the thing into traffic, but another part knew it might be my only leash to whatever puppeteer still yanked the strings. At the alley mouth, a single sedan idled, nondescript white with state-issue plates masked by grime. Headlights off, engine ticking over. I ducked behind a dumpster. Rain misted beneath the sodium vapor lamps, haloing the car. The windshield wipers squeaked once, just enough to clear a hand's breadth. Someone was waiting. I eased the rabbit onto the pavement, lens pointed at the sedan, then crossed to the opposite wall, shoes barely kissing puddles. My reflection slid in fractured storefront glass. Lank hair, motel hoodie, bruise neck map of every hand that had tried to claim me. I almost laughed. Predator bait wrapped in tremor and spite. A window hummed down. A woman's voice, low, almost coaxing. Emma, you're late. I knew that tone. Professional, gentle, practiced on victims. But it wasn't Blake's, nor Cho's, nor any bureau shrink. I stepped closer, staying in the angle where the streetlight failed. Who are you? Someone who can end this. She leaned forward. The glow caught her cheekbones, sharp, severe, hair in a blunt silver bob, mid-50s maybe, eyes the dilute blue of glacier melt. She wore a charcoal raincoat unbuttoned just enough to show a ballistic vest. I've read your file, she said. Philip wasn't rogue. He was franchised. I want the contents of his notebook, and I'll take you somewhere even the marshals can't violate with a subpoena. Franchised. The word tasted of slick PowerPoints and venture capital meetings. A trafficking startup. Revulsion pulsed in my teeth. What's your name? She smiled as though the question charmed her. They call me the broker. I curate portfolios. Chill ran scalp to heel. Portfolios. Of fear. Ms. Cross. Fear is product. Environment controls dosage. Philip was an artist, but artists need patrons. The syndicate supplies that. I kept voice flat. Why kill his patrons at Sunder Acres? Non-performing asset. His countdown proved unreliable. We cleansed the ledger. She shrugged. Creative turnover. Lightning flickered beyond tower blocks. I measured my breath. Rabbit cam blinked from the gutter. Still transmitting, I hoped, into some Marshall radio van not yet jammed. I took a slow step toward the sedan. Notebooks in my room. Come get it. Her hand dipped. Gunmetal flashed. Oh, I intend to, but you'll ride with me. Insurance against bureau interference. Right then the diner's back door banged open. A prep cook dragged a trash bag out, radio clipping tinny mariachi. In that sliver of distraction I drew the .38 and fired once through the sedan's windshield. Glass cubed. Driver slumped onto horn, airbag blooming. The broker ducked. I sprinted. The prep cook screamed. Horn blared steady. Behind me, a hiss, metallic thunk. Sedan trunk popping. I glimpsed a man climbing out, all black tactical gear, face painted charcoal, suppressed subgun shouldered. I tore down the alley. Bullets snicked brick, chimed dumpsters. On the third ricochet a siren hooped. Maybe Blake's people responding to the GPS blackout and the rabbit feed. The gunman pivoted, squeezing a burst toward the cruiser skidding into view. Squad lights strobed red-blue fireworks across rain slick. I vaulted a cyclone fence into a small scrapyard, breath ragged, blood roaring. Sirens multiplied, tires screeched. The symphony of an intervention hitting late but loud. I hunkered behind a rusted excavator, nose burning from cordite. Across the yard, the broker's gunmen engaged flashing silhouettes. I heard Cho's voice bark commands, saw muzzle flares strobe. In 90 seconds it was over. Tactical man face down, cuffs rammed into flexed wrists, broker pinned against hood, silver bob disheveled yet chin high. Blake hustled to me, breath frosted. Thought we lost you. I handed him the rabbit. They delivered her toy and tried to collect the rest of the set. He pocketed the plush gently, as if afraid to bruise Charlotte's aura lingering there. We'll extract whatever telemetry that thing sent. Good work staying alive. I almost said it wasn't work. Only stubborn electricity kicking inside terror. But words failed. The broker watched us, lips curling. She mouthed something, 2 syllables I couldn't parse. Weber read the Miranda. She declined counsel, requested a single phone call. Mendez arrived moments later, rain sheening his Stetson. He eyed smashed windshield, dead driver, confiscated SMG. Cartel hardware, he muttered. Where's the supply chain? Broker winked. Check your evidence locker tomorrow, detective. They frog-marched her into a van. At 0400 I finally collapsed onto a plastic bench outside the ER where Tyler slept off morphine and fresh sutures. The chase had ripped open surgical staples. Exhaustion weighed every joint. Blake approached, steaming coffee in hand. Intel cell backtraced that rabbit feed dark web bounce cascade, but final relay piggybacked a county sheriff repeater. We arrested a deputy staging evidence leaks. It's bigger than we feared. I told you, I mumbled. He sat, offered cup. Task force wants you on the inside track. You drew them out twice. You understand their psychology. I rubbed eyes sandy from adrenaline letdown. You mean I'm still bait? Bait that bites back, Blake said. Broker lawyered up. But we intercepted her SMS to the syndicate board. Command string reads, reconvene protocol widow. We don't know what that means. I pictured Philip's notebook. Lists of locations under headings, hollow, boneyard, widow. Did they raid her safe house yet? SWAT's spinning up. Why? Widow's a training compound, I said. Rural amusement park left to rot. Notebook showed ride names. Widow's Walk, Hangman's Drop. It's code. Blake's jaw flexed. He scribbled coordinates. We move at dawn. Tyler insisted on coming. Doctors protested. He refused sedation, signed AMA release with shaking hand. We armed him with Kevlar and non-lethal shotgun beanbags, but he tucked a .45 just in case. The convoy cut southwest through Knob Country where fog clung low like riverboats parked on pasture. Widow Valley Funland appeared at first as a blanched Ferris wheel craning above kudzu. Gondolas swaying in dawn thermals. Weather-worn clown faces grinned on billboards half-eaten by moss. Entrance gate sagged. Chain snapped, as if someone wanted visitors tonight. SWAT fanned through parking lot littered with pine straw and beer cans. Drones buzzed overhead. My GPS anklet pinged like palpitation. Contain perimeter, Commander ordered. Broker's failover may already be in motion. Blake gestured me, Tyler, Mendez toward an employee-only service road. We crept past collapsed concession stalls, plywood eyes missing. A smell of old grease mingled with damp wood and something metallic, like pennies in rain. Ahead, the roller coaster, Hangman's Drop, loomed skeletal, its lift hill broken, rails rippled by years of freeze-thaw. Beneath the structure sat maintenance sheds patched with tarps. One door glowed under sodium lamp, fresh bulb, surveillance hub. Mendez signaled halt. Keyed radio. Target structure entry imminent. He and Blake advanced first, weapons up. Tyler and I flanked, breath white in half-light. Door hinges squealed when Blake kicked. Inside, rows of servers in crude racks, diesel Jenny rumbling, smell of hot circuitry. On monitors, live thermal feeds of the park, plus a grid of subscription windows, video thumbnails of victims in various wilderness holds, chat scrolling with user handles bidding on scenario escalations. Pay-per-view horror. My gorge rose. From back office a figure burst. Teenaged boy, maybe 19, wielding suppressed pistol. He fired. Round smacked cinderblock near Blake's head.
Tyler SBN bag shotgun boomed.
Flinging the kid against rack. Gun skittered. He crumpled. Winded. I rushed, kneeled, slid weapon away. Kid's pupils dilated huge, breath rasping. He wore badge lanyard. Tech intern, widow OPS. His voice cracked, babyish. I just streamed the feeds. They said it was ARG marketing. Mendez cuffed him, read rights. Kid sobbed. Blake yanked flash drive from tower, pocketed. Sirens in distance signaled SWAT sweeping deeper attractions. Radio chatter. Found holding cells under tunnel of love ride. For live, 2 DOA. My limbs shook, survivors. Real faces to mourn. In the office corner a corkboard displayed Polaroids, intake shots, each pinned with coordinates. Tyler scanned. Froze. He plucked one. Jake Monroe, wide grin holding a fish. He pocketed it. Jaw tight. I found Charlotte's shot. Tacked above note. Status. Retired, rabbit keep. Nausea flooded. Blake gestured to crate of labeled drives. Bag 'em, he ordered Tex. Mendez's phone chirped. He listened. Face blanching. Broker's transport ambushed en route to holding facility. Escort vehicle found empty. She's loose. Silence swallowed generator thrum for a beat. Tyler broke it. She'll torch the tree before the feds cut it down. As if summoned, a bass rumble shook earth. Through doorway I saw fireball bloom behind coaster where fuel dump must have been. Rails chain reacted, wooden trestle spitting embers. SWAT radios clipped with panicked calls. We evacuated the shed as heat mushroomed. Sparks snowed on damp leaves. Smoke plume rose like a biblical column, visible for counties. Good for evidence, bad for lungs. Blake herded us toward perimeter where engines already howled. Under strobing emergency lights, I caught a glimpse of silver bob hair through smoke, boarding a black dual-sport motorcycle beyond fence. I shouted. Tyler wheeled, fired .45, 3 shots. Sparks off chain link. Broker tore away, back tire fishtailing gravel, vanishing into ash dawn. Tyler slammed fist into medic truck, wincing at stitches. She'll start again. I touched his arm. Then so will we. Blake overheard, exhaled. Task Force Sapphire just became permanent. 6 months later. Federal Courthouse, Knoxville. Marble echo chamber. I sat at witness table, nails short, voice steady after weeks of coaching. Jury watched screens cycling through evidence. Phillips ledgers, server logs, SWATcam footage. Tyler testified earlier. His words cut like flint. Tears unhidden when Jake's photo displayed. Charlotte spoke from the grave through deposition video film days before sepsis claimed her. When my turn ended, defense counsel's cross could not blunt the blade of livestream horrors. Verdict. Life without parole for 9 captured operators. Headlines lauded Appalachian Predator ring crushed, though Broker remained at large. That night marshals transferred me to a safe townhouse in a small Midwestern city. Walls echoed. I lay awake picturing Ferris wheel ribs sticking from charred earth like a crown of thorns. Outside, snow sifted, quieting the world. Phone buzzed, new encrypted number only Blake Tyler shared. A single text. Still hunting widows. You in? Below it a GPS pin, Northern California, Trinity Alps. Next scenario site. I stared until screen dimmed. Fear fluttered, but something else too. The match Charlotte said we must strike. I packed a go bag, just essentials, notebook scans on thumb drive. Rabbit with dead camera but living memory. Before dawn I dropped Marshall tracker in a Greyhound locker. Freedom's price. Trust only movement. As train pulled west. Reflection in window resolved, bruised shadows faded. Eyes lit by stubborn ember. I whispered to it. Rot can't thrive where fire walks. Outside the darkness rolled back, revealing skeletal forests silhouetted against first light gold. Mountains breathing not like a cage but like a forge. I held their gaze unblinking, as the horizon opened to take me farther than fear had ever planned for, into flame.